Gullion seo tá ban as ardhacha, chun é ardhacha, ag bun Sliabh Gullion sin an áte ar tógiúí Bláithín Mhic Cana an taine agus is isitá chun an ceartan seo dhéanamh. Beside me here is Bláithín Mhic Cana. You can read all about her on the Frank Harte website because all the bio and all that stuff is there. But she comes from the foot of Sliabh Gullion, and Sliabh Gullion is in South Armagh. And it's, as I was saying earlier on, it's a beautiful part of the country. If you ever get a chance, you should go and have a visit to there. Mulligan and Torkill and Crossmaglen and all those places. Fabulous part of the country. Beautiful people, beautiful scenery, and great crack as well up there. So I'm going to hand over to Bláithín. She's going to do a workshop. How she's going to do it, I'm not entirely sure. But maybe we could give her a welcome to warm her up, Bláithín Mhic Cana.
Thanks very much everybody for that lovely welcome. So Murder Ann is Bláithín. I am Bláithín Mhic Cana, Bláithín ní Doran or Bláithín Dorn as I was born and reared, and Mhic Cana is my name when I'm married. And yes, I was reared just literally at the very bottom of Sliabh, a field away from the mountain, and consider myself very privileged to have had the upbringing that I had. It was very much one that you were immersed in your environment, in the countryside. We built forts and climbed trees and picked blackberries, and that was sort of just, the childhood was out really in the South Armagh landscape the whole time. And the other thing that went hand in hand with that was the what would you say, tradition of singing and of music that was just all around you, and you couldn't really escape it, certainly not in families or family, you couldn't escape it. I was saying somewhere else recently, I didn't come from a dynasty of like sort of very well renowned singers, but songs were just bread and butter in our house. Everybody to this day has that song. Everyone knows what my granddad's song was, my nanny's song was, every aunt and uncle's song. Everyone has their song, and I think a lot of people in Ireland can probably identify with that. And that's one of the things that I love about traditional singing, and that sense of identity that you get from it, that sense of grounding that you get from it. I was thinking about this on the way up the road. The first song that I know of that anyone in my family is introduced to is a lullaby that literally has one word, and the word is Bally. I don't know if anyone else has ever heard this, but every child in our extended family was always sang Bally, 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 oh. And it was only then years later, and I still don't know that this is definitely right, but I'm talking to Padraig and Michaela, and she was saying that one of the lullabies that people used to sing when Irish left South Armagh, there was still a lot of people used to sing to their children, or sort of chant to them, if you like, Shiba, 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 and it came from Sliabh, or you're welcome and blessings on you. And I have an inkling that that's where our Bally came from, because I don't know what else it was, but yeah, it started literally Sliabh in the cradle in our house and continued on. And my selection of songs, I've kind of tortured myself over the last couple of days, going, oh, how do I pick things that are too easy and too obvious? And I just really wanted to go with where I was introduced to the traditional song. And some of these, Willie Archer is probably the first song that I would have heard in its entirety. My uncle Matt Rice sang it, and my mother as well. I don't know where my uncle sadly isn't with us anymore, and I don't know where he got it from, but he would have been about the singing weekends, and I don't know whether he picked it up. I know Roisin White used to sing it, so I'm not sure if that's where he got it from, but I actually, it references Hilltown and Rathfriland, and I was actually came to live in South Armagh at 6 weeks old, and before that my mother had lived in Rathfriland, or just outside it. So I think that was another reason why this song, and again that's so common, isn't it, with us traditional singers, we're always looking for the song that we identify with, that we know the place in it, or we know something of that life, you know. So again, I think this is something that a lot of us do, that first line, as I went walking down by Hilltown, we're on Willie Archer here, sorry, I think it's the second page, I have a place in my head that I'm thinking of. If anybody here's ever been to Hilltown in County Down in the Mourne Mountains, as you come down through the village, just at the bottom, you cross over the River Bann, and I see that so clearly when I sing this song, you know. And we're Freyland as well. Maybe not known as the most welcoming of places to some communities on the island, but it's a very picturesque, beautiful town. It sits on a hill, and you know, when he talks about the spinning and the moving in Rathfriland town, it's very easy to visualise this story. And like I say, it was sang at every sing-song and get-together in our house growing up. And maybe I would start off just by singing it. And then I'll talk a wee bit more about what I know or what I've come to know about where it originated or might have come into the repertoire of Irish traditional singing. And then we'll get started. As I went walking down by Hilltown, all the fair and lovely mountains they did me surround. There I spied a pretty fair maid, and to me she looked grand. She was plucking wild roses on the banks of Bann. Well, I stepped up to her, and to her I did say, since nature has formed us to be done this way, since nature has formed us, won't you give me your hand, and we will go walking on the banks of Bann. Well, it was into a corner where the charge had took place, and I knew by a blush that appeared on her face. Her feet they fell from her on that soft bed of sand, and she fell into my arms on the banks of Bann. Well, she said, young man, you have wronged me, won't you tell me your name? So that when my baby's born, I might give him the same. My name, it's Willie Archer, and you must understand that my home and habitation lie close to the Bann. Well, I can't marry you, for I'm apprentice bound to the spinning and the weaving near Rathfriland town. But when my term is ended, I will give you my hand, and we will get married on the banks of Bann. So come all ye pretty fair maids, take a warning by me, and don't go out the curtain at 1, 2, or 3. Don't go out the curtain so late if you can, for you might meet with Willie Archer on the banks of Bann. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice straightforward one, I think. It really captured my attention as a young, like I was a child listening to this, probably not age appropriate at all to be listening to it for the night of it, but it was very easy to follow, and it became probably very well known then. I have since discovered when Silly Wizard recorded it, and I was listening to a recording on YouTube of them, and they were talking about it, and you know, when you break down these stories, I mean, he was this terrible man that wronged her and then wasn't going to stand by her and that, but was a bit mental to meet him by the river and then sort of saying, oh, instantly, by the way, I'm definitely pregnant and I want to call him after you. So these stories, they're a bit I don't know, far-fetched or that, but they capture the imagination for sure. I know that there is a version of it that is in my Sam Henry Songs of the People called Willie Angler or The Backs of the Ban, and like so many songs in the tradition, it's very easy to replace rat violin with Coleraine, and obviously spinning and weaving was something that took place in the north of Ireland everywhere, particularly along the Ban where there was lots of flax and that. So this song was, he reckons it was written by someone up about there. It gives the name of someone in Derry, but I have seen other people saying it doesn't really feel authentically Irish in its sort of arrangement, and so who knows. And again, sometimes I second guess, and you're like, oh, should I be singing this? Is it? But this is my tradition, this is my family song, so you do feel like, no, I don't know how it came into our family's repertoire, but I like it and it's staying. So hopefully it'll become part of your repertoire as well after today. So we're going to maybe go through it line by line, that's all right, if that works for everyone. As I went walking down by Hilltown, as I went walking down by Hilltown, the green and lovely mountains, they did me surround. The green and lovely mountains, they did me surround. There I spied a pretty fair maid, and to me she looked grand and there I spied a pretty fair maid, and to me she looked grand and she was plucking wild roses on the banks of the Ban. She was plucking wild roses on the banks of the Ban. Okay, will we give that a go all together? As I went a-walking down by Hilltown, the green and lovely mountains, they did me surround. There I spied a pretty fair maid, and to me she looked grand and she was plucking wild roses on the banks of the Ban. Okay, am I laying the time then? Well, I stepped up to her, and her I did say. Well, I stepped up to her, and her I did say. Since nature has formed us to be done this way, since nature has formed us to be done this way, since nature has formed us, won't you give me your hand on? Since nature has formed us, won't you give me your hand on? We will go walking on the banks of the Ban. We will go walking on the banks of the Ban. Now, I think we have the tune of it that we could probably just go on through if you are happy enough. I was thinking again of this, overthinking is a pain here, but last night I didn't know if I'm teaching, do I put in loads of ornamentation as I would normally, or are you better teaching it kind of lump, kind of bare? And because obviously I think ornamentation very much depends on where you're from, how you're going to ornament different parts of the country and your own personal style. But just things that you might hear that I have noticed with Ulster singers are things like as are put in a lot, okay, to fill in. Maybe it's done everywhere else, I'm not sure, but you know, we will go walking, and they're even more subtle than that. There's a little vowel goes in sometimes after a word, sometimes. Has anyone else heard that? Is that a thing? And the other thing is there's like N sounds cheese, and Mick as well, you know. So just wee things like that are kind of wee styles, but obviously you will all have your own way and just go for it. Okay, so we'll go into it. Was into the corner. It was into a corner where the charging took place, and I knew by the look that appeared on her face. Her feet they fell from her on that soft bed of sand. She fell into my arms on the banks of land. Oh, young man, you have wronged me, won't you tell me your name? So that when my baby's born, I might give him the same. My name is Willie Archer, and you must understand. My home and habitation lie close to the land. Well, I can't marry you, for I'm apprentice bound to the spinning and the weaving near Rathfriland town. But when my term is ended, I will give you my hand on. We will be married on the banks of the Bann. So come all ye pretty fair ways, take a warning by me, and don't go out a curtain at 1, 2, or 3. Don't go out a curtain so late if you can, for you might meet with Willie Archer on the banks of the Bann. And I see Frank has a pen handy, which is what I always say to anybody that ever comes to anything that I teach, because you can guarantee I'll sit at a computer and hum it to myself and think I'm putting down what I actually sing, and then I come to sing it and realise there's about 10 different words that are totally different, or that you change just, I don't know, depending on the day of the week that you're singing it. So there are a few things there that obviously when I'm singing.
So late if you can.
So late if you can. And there's a few of those ands. When my term is ended, I will give you my hand. No, you must understand that. I sing, and you must understand that. So there's a few wee things like that, but who's to say, maybe what I'm saying isn't. The flush on her face, yes. And I knew by the flush that appeared on her face, yes, yeah. That's the Banks of Bann, and hopefully we're feeling a bit warmed up. And maybe we'll move on. Would you like to do now one as Gaelic or another one in Berla in English?
Yourself?
Okay, maybe we will go with Margie in here because it's a wee bit lighter. Okay. There's no questions of politics and consent and dodgy sort of topics. It's just a nice, light-hearted market song. Now, I was saying to Anthony, I only realised that this is not a very good copy because something has gone wrong in the formatting of it, and some of the words are squeezed together. So I will endeavour maybe after the workshop to get a better version to everyone if there's an email address or something. It is available on borealarts.com as well, which I have cited there on Bláithín Mhic Cana's website. So this is Margu and Muir, and Margu and Muir means Muir Market. That's the translation down below. And if you read through the translation, no much a Gaelic of it, Bailey Sugget, not will more in the Gaelic show. It doesn't make a lot of sense, okay? It's just really one of those vocal little kind of light-hearted songs that would be sang at a market day or just for entertainment. They're very common, of course, in our tradition, and even more so maybe in the Scottish tradition. And this one was collected When we talk about, Anton introduced me as being from South Armagh, but I suppose more broadly speaking, it's Orani Oriel in it. I'm an Oriel singer, so Oriel, long before Queen Elizabeth introduced counties to Ireland, there were our kind of kingdoms, our Gaelic kingdoms, and Oriel would have been South Armagh, a good bit of County Louth, South Monaghan, even maybe into parts of Fermanagh, parts of South Down maybe, and yeah, that's kind of it. Maybe even Cavan, so as far as some parts of Cavan. And I do maintain to this day, maybe you'll agree with me, we are a common people in those borderlands. Before they were borderlands, we were a people, we were one people, and you find that they're in common with them. The accents are much more like, I went to school in Newry, which is mentioned here, but Newry people were like a foreign species to us. They had very northern accents.
Once you passed the Sliabh.
Once you passed the Sliabh, it was just a totally different world. Yeah, we were a people apart, and then we went to places over the border, as it was, Omeath, Carlingford, Cooley, Louth. Like I'm teaching a primary school across the Glen, and we would have a lot of kids that live in County Louth and County Monaghan because the border is half a mile either way. So those people sounded more like us. Kind of their way of life was more like ours. They were rural, they were farmers, and that has been centuries old. Their songs were all the same as well. So this song, Margot Newry Market, would have been collected in the last sort of Irish-speaking region of Oriel, which was Omeath. The last native speaker in Oriel died in Omeath in 1969, Anne O'Hanlon. And there was Irish in Omeath into the 60s, 50s, 60s, and in South Armagh, in Mulban, and on Sliabh Gullion itself, sort of at the start of the 1900s, up as far as maybe 1910, 1911. My own great-grandmother wrote on the census that she had Irish, and my uncle, she lived with my mommy's family, and the eldest uncle said he remembers her kind of, the prayers would have been in Irish, and she would have said bits and pieces. So it's really not that long since Irish was the language of the people of Oriel and of South Armagh, and I'm very happy to say I do think that we'll see it again. I teach in the local Gael school, and it's growing every year, and there are more and more families choosing to raise their children with Irish, and also the interest in traditional song is huge. Paddy did us all a massive favour when she published A Hidden Ulster, and it has recently been republished, and that is being used by teenagers and primary school children and adults alike in the area and beyond to access our own cultural heritage again. And this song is one of those. It was collected in Omeath. The Omeath people would have been known for going to the markets in Newry and in Belfast. They were known in Belfast as the Fadgies, because when they would go up, all the Belfast people would hear would be them saying, well a Fadgie, well a Fadgie, well a Fadgie, which of course meant well Paddy, there would have been a lot of them were Pat or Paddy, and they became known as the Fadgies. But they would have gone to sell their fish, and they would have gone also to sell their seaweed, which is where that song that became so well known from Clonard, Dullaman, based on the Dullaman, and Dullaman came from, it's a song of Oriel, it's an Omeath song. So I digress, back to Newry Market. We'll start with the chorus. So it goes 1 and 2, 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 Waikiki, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1. Line a plurak and a rug in there, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1. Will I sing it from start to finish first? Just so you said that later. Hanna Mhic Cana wan la haina kas naira has do. O hanna chungani the lowish look she won brother ke. 1 and 2, 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 wackety 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. La haina bluraka the rug me 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. The go bog hands and swan is yanchi cassie nogani. Yanchi group is tarns for a chibar rigani. 1 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, wackety 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. I'm the rock the rock me 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Oh, in the mark and yours on the curl my academy. The banner of cars so good is true should family. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, wackety 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. I'm the rock the rock me 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. I will walk among scalp no one, the Heinegas Myris get the bow, where a Hanukkah shot, tongue got the loud, partially the fun and the women lay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, wackety 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Like the rock the rock me 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. I will walk among Cougar score, and so she and I and America. British and Paris, my liar is hard, my kid growl all alone. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, wackety 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Like the rock the rock me 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Okay, so hopefully we will get on with it. I think probably it's just going to be a learn from ear because it's so hard to decipher those, so my apologies for that. But we'll go for the 1 and 2s first. So 1 and 2, 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 wackety. Do you want to try that again? 1 and 2, 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 wackety. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1. La haine pleracle a rogume. La haine pleracle a rogume. Could we try to explain that even just in case? I'm not sure who has Gaelic and who doesn't. So, la haine na pleraca a rogume. Means I was born for development. I took it from, what did she say, from Ireland to my nativity. But yeah, La Haine Pleraca is just getting up to the development. So, La Haine Pleraca a Rogume. Try that. La Haine Pleraca a Rogume. Can we put that all together? 1 and 2, 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 wackety, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1. Like the rocket of rocket, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1. One more time. 1 and 2, 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 wackety, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1. Like the rocket of rocket, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Okay, let's get stuck into the verses then. So, Han il ogum max gada no one. Han il ogum max gada no one. Shall I say it first? Does that help? Yeah. Han il ogum max gadan awan. 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 La hai mochas naira. La hai mochas naira a hasu du. A hasu du. So the naira runs into the a. So la hai mochas naira hasu du. 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 Okay, put those 2 lines together. Han logum mox gadano one. La hai mochas naira hasu du. Arish. Han logum mox gadano one. La hai mochas naira hasu du. Han logum mox gadano one. La hai mochas naira hasu du. O Hanik, Shan, Gadi, and Dalai. So that you don't really hear because it's so fast. So it's O Hanik, Shan, Gadi, Dalai. O Hanik, Shan, Gadi, Dalai. Okay, try that again. and then is rug she go bradache. Is rug she go bradache. Is rug she go bradache. So Ohanic Shangali Dalai is rug she go bradache. Ohanic Shangali Dalai is rug she go bradache. Okay, try out here. Ohanic Shangali Dalai is rug she go bradache. Put that whole verse together. Hanelogam Maskadana one, La Haimokas Naira Hasudu. Ohanic Shangali Dalai is rug she go bradache. Hanelogam Maskadana one, La Haimokas Naira Hasudu. Ohanic Shangali Dalai is rug she go bradache. And like I said, my apologies for this, the way that's written. I know it's really tricky, but for what it's worth, I do find for myself learning these kind of speedier, like mouth music type ones, because they don't make a lot of sense anyway. They're nearly like if you go to learn a tune on an instrument, you kind of keep doing it until, like, I would play a wee bit of whistle, like, you know, that your fingers are doing it and you don't really know, you're not telling them to do it. So that is a bit like that with these sort of songs. You get it that they're just coming out without you having to think, whereas really it's the opposite with your slow, your big songs, you know, you're trying to really give attention to every line. I don't know if anyone else would feel that. And so even though it's unfortunate that this is not very well written with the text, you kind of have to just learn them off by heart, I think, anywhere for these songs. So we'll go with the first verse and the chorus. We'll maybe do it 3 times in a row, getting a wee bit faster every time. Hanilogam Moskavano one, La Haimokas Naira Hasudu. O Hani Shangali Dalai is rug she go bradache. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 Waggity 1 2 1 2 1 Line of blur up with the broken neck 1 2 1 2 1 Hanilogam Moskavano one Line of Kasnaira Hasudu. O Hani Shangali Dalai is rug she go bradache. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 Waggity 1 2 1 2 1 Line of her after the rope make 1 2 1 2 1. Okay, I think that's 3 times, and then we'll move on to the next verse. I think we're good on that. Okay. Ta goa bug hal in sa spine. Ta goa bug hal in sa spine. Okay, I was darn right. If ornamentation and pronunciation are different in the English songs, they're definitely different in the Irish songs. So I'm listening to Anthem and Aquilum, and the Canaanite is Umlanate, so it's very different. So Mata Peaceable use whatever Canaanite or Kudwar, use your own Canaanite. Don't be feeling like you have to say the words exactly as I'm saying them. So Ta goa bug hal in sa spine. Ta goa bug hal in sa spine. Is Jan che kasi nugini. Is Jan che kasi nugini. Jan che crew agus tarn. Jan che crew agus tarn. Is current che bar igini. Is current che bar igini. Okay, and if you look at what that means, there's a little blacksmith in Spain who would make noggin cases. He'd make horseshoe nails and he'd make toggles for ropes. So Neil more in the key. This is not a big meaningful one at all. It's just any other nonsense. Okay? So I'll say the line and sing it. Ta goa bog hal in sa spine. Ta goa bog hal in sa spine. Ta goa bog hal in sa spine. Is Jan che kasi nugini. Is Jan Yanniche Cassie Nogany. Is Yanniche Cassie Nogany. Is Yanniche Cassie Nogany. Yanniche Crew August Tarn. Yanniche Crew August Tarn. Yanniche Crew August Tarn. Yanniche Crew August Tarn. Is Corliche Bar Dignity. Is Corliche Bar Dignity. Is Corliche Bar Dignity. Okay, we'll try putting that together. Tago above Halling's a swine. Is Yanniche Cassie Nogany. Yanniche Crew August Tarn. Is Corliche Bar Dignity. Arish. Tago above Halling's a swine. Is Yanniche Cassie Nogany. Yanniche Crew August Tarn. Is Corliche Bar Dignity. Burn right now. Tago above Halling's a swine. Is Yanniche Cassie Nogany. Yanniche Crew August Tarn. Is Corliche Bar Dignity. Okay, let's put together what we've done so far. First chorus. Handelogam Moxcatana one, the Heimocas Naira has to do. Oh, Hanik Shanghai, that line is Roche, Lumber Pratake. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, Wagati, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. The Heimler up in the rock, me 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Tago above Halling's swine. Is Yanniche Cassie Nogany. Yanniche Crew August Tarn. Is Corliche Bar Dignity. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, Wagati, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. The Heidler up in the rock, me 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Could you hear our talent? Are we okay? I was thinking there, I remember the first time that I ever taught adults. So I teach primary school children, Myra, you might feel this. Okay, so they're very, it's very easy to know if a lesson is going well in primary school. Because if they love it, you will know. And if they hate it, by God, you will know. And if they're not getting it, you will know. Okay? And then I remember taking the first adult lesson and going, I can't read, it's very hard, you know, we kind of all look very calm and the same, and I don't know. And now we have face masks and Zoom teaching and all these other crazy things, and I'm always feeling very worried that what if this isn't working or they're left behind, and how do I know? So please tell me, are we going at the right pace? Are we going okay?
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah, we're okay. So we move on to verse number 3. Sorry, I'll say it first. So this is the word hui, but it would be kind of nearly like one syllable. In order, it would be hui. So it's hui me gom maru gunur. Hui me gom maru gunur. And again, that maru nyam kind of melts into it. So it's hui me gom maru gunur. Maru gunur. Can we try that? Hui me gom maru gunur. Okay? Hui me gom maru gunur. Hui me gom maru gunur. Is on a vi kuru mai kalmini. Is on a vi kuru mai kalmini. Is on a vi kuru mai kalmini. Try those 3 lines together. Hui me gom maru gunur. Is on a vi kuru mai kalmini. English. Hui me gom maru gunur. Is on a vi kuru mai kalmini. The banner a car sakuig. The banner a car sakuig. Agus buhali trush a fadali. Agus buhali trush a fadali. And that August becomes just Gus. Agus buhali trush a fadali. So I went to Newry Market. There were many fine pretty girls. A woman, a 4 and a 5. And the kilted lads were whistling. So it's kind of just depicting that market scene in between the cities. Okay, we'll try again, maybe a a line and a line after me and then we'll do it all together. We make a American Muir, we make a American Muir, is on the bee cool my Callie, is on the bee cool my Callie, the banner of Carsaquid, the banner of Carsaquid, is bloody true family, is bloody true family, all together. We make a American Muir, is on the bee cool my Callie, the banner of Carsaquid, is bloody true family. We make a American Muir, is on the bee cool my Callie, the banner of Carsaquid, is bloody true family. From the top. And the love of Sliabh no one, the high of past Naira has to do. Oh, Hannah Shangali, the light is rock shade, run, brother gray. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, waggity, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. The high of the rock of the road, may 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Tagro hands and swine is Yaniche casting up in you. Yaniche Kruger's arm is courage already in me. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, waggity, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. The high of the rock the road, may 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Oh, when I come back in Muir, it's on the bee cool my Callie, the banner of Carsaquid, it's bloody true family. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, waggity, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. The high blue rock with the rock, day 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. I really love Bachable songs. Deadly, aren't they? For class, and I love that, you know, there's nearly like a wee percussion beat in there, and 1 and 2, you know, there's like, it's like, and Fire Draw Near did a podcast, and everyone here on Mouth Music recently, and it's really, really good. And they have a recording of a woman on the Isle of Barra, I think Julie Ferris over lockdown put this up on her Twitter as well, I've heard of it, and it's like mouth music, but it's like bird song. And it's all like the hoolos and all the things that are used in the vocals, but to make the sound of bird song. And it's really, really wow. If you get a chance, go and listen to it. But I was listening to that Fire Draw Near podcast, and I just wanted to be able to converse about all the amazing music that there is in Oriel. On a La Lu CD, Etna did one that she called Mouth Music, I think Sense Tour, and she puts together this with Hyde Overy, Wallace ID, and a whole load of other like only ones that have those like little vocable choruses to them, and it's really special. They would be worth looking up as well. Okay, sorry. So Caro Ogum Oxgad and Wine. This is quite similar to the first verse in places. So Caro Ogum Oxgad and Wine, Caro Ogum Oxgad and Wine. La haimachas nai le skip the bug. La haimachas nai le skip the bug. Nor a hannock or an gaddy da life. Nor a hannock or an gaddy da life. Is Kershie la fanya na winyale. Is Kershie la fanya na winyale. That's a particularly syllable heavy one maybe. Is Kershie la fanya na winyale. Cause Kershie the farmer no in the lay. Cause Kershie the farmer no in the lay. Okay, from the top that verse. Harrow the mox got no wine, the high will cast night is kept the bottle. Nor a honey burn gaddy that light is Kershie the farmer no in the lay. Harrow the mox got no wine, the high will cast night is kept the bottle. Nor a honey burn gaddy that light is Kershie the farmer no in the lay. I'll just move on to the last verse. acu agus gór. Arrógam acu agus gór, is thug siad a naid an airge. Is thug siad a naid an airge, rinne siad fad as mo leir. Rinne siad fad as mo leir, gus hannig mo chiad gra a walla gom. Gus hannig mo chiad gra a walla gom. As Bláithín. Gus hannig mo chiad gra a walla gom. Can we put that together? Arrógam acu agus gór, is thug siad a naid an airge. Rinne siad fad as mo leir, gus hannig mo chiad gra a walla gom. Okay, we'll try from the top. Here we go. Arrógam Mhic Cana na bhain, na haimachas na ira has a do. O hannig sean gan da leib, is rog sé ulam a bradach. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, Wagadee. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. The hinder after the button way. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Cago of all cons and swine, is Janice casting out in me. Janice Kruger's starn, is courage barbaric in me. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, Wagadee. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. The hinder after the button way. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Oh, when on Martin Muir, son of the good my granny, the banner of Garrison blood is bloody to a fatherly. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, Wagadee. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. The hinder after the button, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Arrógam Mhic Cana na bhain, handcuffs my ears to the boat. The hand on daddy the light is crushing a fallen down in the leg. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, Wagadee. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. The handler after the road, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Arrógam acu agus gór, is thug siad a naid an airge. Rinne siad fad as mo leir, is hannig mo chiad gra a walla gom. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, Wagadee. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. The hinder after the road, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. I should.
What's the time when you do that? Yeah, okay, it's another half hour. Another half hour. Okay.
Okay, we're doing great. I hope we're doing great behind this map. So let me see, where are we on? Okay, so we're on the points up to Mulligan. Couldn't not do this one, but the phrase teaching your granny how to suck eggs is going to mind in the audience, because obviously this is a Mulligan song, and I think of Nickel when I think of it. I think of other great singers in the area. I think Tony O'Callaghan was a lovely version of it, and there are lots of people about it. It's the story of an incident that happened around Mulligan, sort of around the time of the 1798 rebellion. There was a landlord that basically formed the village of Forkhill, Squire Jackson, and he was very well liked. He wasn't an absentee landlord, he lived on the estate, and generally he was quite good. And then there was a whole lot of trouble when he passed with his will, and then with the people that came to come into rule after that. There were a lot of things passed. It went to the High Court, I think, where they were trying to pass a bill where when a Catholic tenant couldn't pay that or died off, they would be replaced by a Protestant tenant. Okay, they were basically trying to plant settlement, and they didn't succeed. But this is the story of some locals who thought There are a few, you can read that bit from Sean a while ago, there's a few sort of stories on what they were maybe caught doing, and you might know more than what's written there. That there maybe had been an attempted abduction, or whether it was just, it would have been around the same time as Thomas Lappin and some of the United Irishmen that were operating in the area at the time as well. So obviously Lappin and Grant and them ones were they were captured. So I don't know if the two events are tied, but they certainly were. They would have happened in the same period. And this song is really well known. I'm sure a lot of you know it already. It's a beautiful song, the air, it's lovely, and it's been recorded by a lot of very well-known people. And again, I was really overthinking over the last few days and listening to so many versions that I was dizzy, to the point that I just messaged my brother this morning and said, will you just send me a recording of you singing White Mole until I remember how we sing it again, because I can't remember. So this might be simple enough, but hopefully we get it down and we'll enjoy it today. So I'll sing it from the start again. On a Monday morning early, as my wandering stems steadily free, down by a farmer's station of meadow and green lawn, I heard great lamentation that the wee birds they were making, saying we'll have no more engagements with the boys of Bláithín. Squire Jackson, he's unequal for honour and for reason, for he never turned a traitor, nor denied the rights of man. But now we are in danger from a vile deceiving stranger, who has ordered transportation for boys of Bláithín. As our heroes crossed the ocean, I am told that ship in motion did stand in great commotion as if the seas ran dry. The threatened salmon gave vent while the cuckoo left her station, saying, fare thee well, Gullion, and the boys of Bláithín. So to end my lamentation, we are all in consternation, for the want of education I now must end my song. None cares for recreation, since without consideration we are sent for transportation from the hills of Bláithín. That's why my band are all There's the noble lady who lives near Clissonet, which I think probably that did somebody. Yeah, and our Gareth does too, but I haven't put it in here. I probably learned this song via my brother, who's he's 2 years younger than me, but he had a great baptism to traditional singing, not only from our house at home, but he started collecting glasses in Hanlon's Bar when he was about 11 and hung about till he was about 23 or 4 and got great songs. And I then came in sort of as his sister sort of then when I got up a bit and started going to Bessie's when we'd be singing sessions on, and we really had no idea at that age how lucky we were with the people that were mentoring us and encouraging us. I didn't realise that everyone knew who Mick was and who Len was and probably these people, but they were so encouraging. You know, Gareth would still talk about that your dad would come in and give him £2 for a song, you know, and that was when he was really young. He'd say, "That's now you get up and give us a song," and he was always encouraging all of us.
I mean, you never gave me £2.
Give you a fiver to keep quiet on.
Keep quiet.
Didn't work either.
He was so good. So Gareth would have got this song, I think, just from listening to Mick, and then I sort of would have took it off him. But it was always around. The other person I didn't mention that would have sang, of course, was Brian Nelly, who is a relation of my own. My mother and the Nellies are cousins, and we would have grown up in each other's houses. We only lived down the road as well. And he did a great version of this as well. The best version, if you ask Brian. So, we go on into the thing. On a Monday morning early, as my wandering steps did lead me. On a Monday morning early, as my wandering steps did lead me. Down by a farmer's station, through meadows and green lawn. Down by a farmer's station, through meadows and green lawn. I heard great lamentation. Forgive my lamentation over emotion. I heard great lamentation that the wee birds they were making. Sorry. So the wee birds they were making, I would sing. Saying we'll have no more engagements with the boys of Milan. Okay, we'll go from the top. On a Monday morning early, as my wandering steps did lead me, down by a farmer's station, through meadow and green lawn. I heard great lamentation that the wee birds they were making, saying we'll have no more engagements with the boys of Milan. Squire Jackson, he's unequal for honour and for reason. So he had just reason instead of reasoning. Squire Jackson, he's unequal for honour and for reason. For he never turned traitor, nor denied the rights of man. For he never turned traitor, nor denied the rights of man. But now we are in danger by deceiving stranger. But now we are in danger by deceiving stranger, who has ordered transportation for the boys of man. Who has ordered transportation for the boys of man. Again, like fellows, heroes, and I don't think I said that, sure. So as our heroes cross the ocean, I told that ship in motion. As our heroes cross the ocean, I am told that ship in motion was standing while commotion, as if the seas ran dry. Stand and not start, sorry. So we'll try it again. Would standing while commotion, as if the seas ran dry. The trout and sun gave in as the cuckoo left her station. I'd say her station.
Yeah.
Saying fare thee well, Calliope, and the hills of Milan. Fare thee well, Calliope.
And the boys of Milan.
And the boys of Milan.
That's a phrase that often said just outside the song, you know, "Ah, fair the girl to live in Bláithín Mhic Cana," like if something was finished.
Yeah.
If the
Good
team
luck
was
to it.
10 points down, "Ah, fair the girl to live in
Oh, yeah.
Bláithín Mhic Cana."
Yeah.
As our man went off in 10 points.
Yeah.
He used that phrase a lot.
Dublin aren't really musicians here this year.
Not with 6 in a row, no.
No. So will we try, well, we'll go on to the next verse and we'll back up the top. So to end my lamentation, we are all in consternation. So to end my lamentation, we are all in consternation. For the want of education, I now must end my song. For the want of education, I now must end my song. None cares for recreation, since without consideration. None cares for recreation, since without consideration. They have ordered transportation from the hills of Mullan. They have ordered transportation from the hills of Mullan. Okay, we get our roll from the top. On a Monday morning early, as my wandering steps did lead me, down by a far station of Meadow Kingdom, I heard great lamentation that the wee birds were near, saying we have war engagements with boys of Mullan. Squire Jackson, he's unequal for honor and for reason, for he never turned traitor nor betrayed the rights of man. But then we are in danger from a vile deceiving stranger who has ordered transportation for the boys of Mullan. As our heroes cross the ocean, I am told that ship in the ocean was drowned in wild motion as if the seas ran dry. The tormented sun given as the quickly left for station, saying fare thee well the lady and the boys of Mullan. So to end my lamentation, we are all in consternation. For want of education, I now must end my song. None cares for recreation, since without consideration, they have ordered transportation from the hills of Mullan. Neil, is there any chance you'd give us the verse I didn't have there?
That would.
Okay.
It comes at, it'll be the third verse if we're doing it. So, the third verse, so after there was all the transportation from place one of them. I beg your pardon, ladies, for the asking of this favour. I hope it is not treason what I'm going to say. I'm condoling Lake and Derry and my own comes from near Finney.
I love you to hear it sing. I got a great copy given to me by Kevin Ned of,
Yeah.
was it your grandfather and a great uncle that's singing up in the house?
Have you got that?
Yeah,
Because I haven't got that.
I have a copy of the Ali of the Long Nose.
I've been haunting them for
Okay,
years.
I have
You
one.
can get me that.
Well, we know about the copy.
It's really,
Everybody, it's a really, really good one.
my granddad and Barney Ned, Kevin Ned's
Grandma.
yes,
Father.
father.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just lovely to hear, like, you'd know your voice off that recording.
I'd love to hear it, because his granddad was recorded when he was old, like I was recording it when he was 80, but this was done like 20 years earlier, so he would have been around my age when he was
And it's fine singing. I'll definitely get that to you.
I've been looking for that for ages.
There is an old cassette, isn't it? You know I am a stranger, isn't it?
Yeah, well that...
An old cassette, and it has a red,
That archive series.
Yeah,
a red backing on it, and there's a red piece of plastic on it.
he was 80 when he recorded that.
Yeah.
That was done in about an hour or an hour and a half. Robbie Handy came and just recorded all the songs straight off and put them out. I think 2 hours at the most, the whole thing was recorded.
Yeah, that's right.
The last one, Kitty Cranky, is on it too.
Yeah, well, it's, I think, well, maybe it's not. There's a couple of great, like, funny ones on that.
Yeah. But Barney Ned was a great source of songs as well. Dad would sign loads of songs from Barney Ned, as many from him as from my granddad. He liked learning them from Barney Ned because he was a bit of crack, whereas his dad would have been more serious.
I think we can all relate that sometimes. It's easier to learn from somebody else than from or from your own. But yes, so that's why I'm on. I think
Just tell us, you mentioned Padraig a couple of times there, and you mentioned Michael Ned Quinn, that's Michal's father for anybody at home that mightn't know, and his father again. And we mentioned Brian Ellie. Tell us a little bit about how when you said Padraig got you started with some of the songs in Irish. How did that happen? Or?
so. Again, like
Did she actually teach you songs? Or?
no, she would have. So she. I got to know Padraig through McDara, her son, and I got to see him run, and we were very friendly. And he'd be in and out, and see him with Cian O'Hanlon, Jerry, and Rita O'Hanlon's daughter too. So that was kind of always about, and they knew that I was interested. You know, when Garrett would be down, he would be singing, and then they realised that I was interested, and I really probably. I think the first songs that I started to learn to sing out was off a CD, this is a CD that Hubble Scully Door released that had like Myra Collum and Dominic McGillivray, different people on it. And I learned Linked to Inspiration to sing out. And I must have sang it in Bessie's the night, and Padraig was realised that I was getting into this. And the next day that I was in the house, she gave me a copy of it in Ulster. So like I have a new copy, but this one, you know, I think it's dated 2007 or something, and those pages get turned on a weekly basis. So from that, it was really just going away and learning. You know, I would just pick my set of things from her CDs. I was listening all the time, and listening to what she was singing out when we'd be in Bessie's, what was she singing, and then later, as I started to teach younger ones, and she was aware of this. And she would come to me with a song and say, you know, that would be nice to do with them. And then
so it was kind of, part of it was, let's say, family, part of it was from neighbours, and then part of it was, let's say, from Padraig, but none of it was actually taught in a workshop or anything. Was it by osmosis or your own learning?
That didn't exist when we were young. Like there was, like now, as most places in Ireland, you know, we have the Traditional Arts Partnership and come along and take traditional singing classes and pipes and every instrument under the sun. That wasn't there. It was still very much just the old way of sing songs in the house. Like when the singing weekend would have been on, we lived up on the mountain, and Brian Nelly's house was between our house and the Welcome Inn. So it would have been, the children would have all been kept in the Nellies, and they would have been on the pub. I don't know if it was mine, Nelly was a teenager there, but we would have all been there. So then they would have landed back between the things that were going on with songs. and we would have all been pushed up to sing our song. And that's what I'm saying, like, even though like there's no recordings of my granda singing, but he was referenced in a few of John Campbell's stories, Matt Rice and Sturgeon, and that he was a real sort of a shanky character. You know, he would have went around on his cane to all the neighbours, and he sang like Mighty Pickin when he did the brush dance and things like that there. And you know, it was just all it was about. It was very much just osmosis. You know.
So when you're teaching, tell us moving in Gaelscoil, because the Glennon. Bláithín is teaching in the Gaelscoil, which is an Irish language school, let's say, across Glen. Do you teach these songs to children?
Yeah, I would, like Mario Muir and Gullion and any that are kind of, I think, would work. We have club shambles in school, so we do that, and then we would get them ready for, that would be kind of as a group, and then we would get them ready for, with a few, like the artists in 2019, when that was the thing, and we were able to go to the artists. And down to Shandos, the Farce in Belfast, and that we would take them down. And like, I fully believe, you know, our school's called Gael School Fáilte Mhic Cana, and I just say to the kids, you know, it's not one school for it, because that would be a primary school. We're a Gael school, which is a school to teach them how to be Gaels, and that's more than just speaking the language. That's knowing your culture and your song and your dance, and you know, that's kind of the thought behind that.
Funnily enough, a lot of people say actually that Irish language singing it is being transmitted, especially to younger people, and there's a lot of young people around the country learning Irish language singing. And the question sometimes arises, well, is the same thing happening with songs in English? Like, are the younger people learning the songs in English in your area, for example?
Yeah, well, Pierce McMahon in Crossmaglen is doing great work with that as well. I would do a little bit, but I'm now getting more into singing more in English. Generally, my comfort zone would be more to sing in Irish, but there are quite a few, and like that, we've had quite a few titles coming home from Sliabh, the Daily Girls from Crossmaglen, and Pierce Larkin sings in both languages, and there are a lot of young people are doing both. Credit to a couple of individuals, but I don't know. I suppose maybe it would be nice to see more of that in the schools. You know, I don't.
Well, I was just about to ask you that. Are they primary school teachers that are transmitting this into primary schools, or is it just individuals in the community?
Yeah, I think it's more individuals in the community, and then starting up like music classes. So then, like what I find maybe a wee bit is it's very much geared towards entering the flat or entering, you know, like. And that was kind of, it's sometimes, I don't know, this is like,
yeah, I know.
Sometimes that was what I prefer to just teach a song for the enjoyment of the song. You know, sometimes I get uncomfortable if I think, you know, it's an individual being taken just to learn for a competition. I'd rather just, so primary schools are such a lovely place, and I saw a beautiful thing up, I think, on the Frank Harte Festival where someone was doing a bit of work with teaching some of the Dublin street ballads to a group of kids. That was up recently. Yeah, that to me does my heart good. That's better than one person knowing a song really well and doing that.
Yeah, like I remember I was doing a workshop at one stage and somebody asked me, would this be a good song for the flag? And I thought to myself, well, hold on. So I said, look, I'm going to teach a song now that's no use for the flag. It'll be useless for the flag, but I'm going to teach it anyway. In other words, it's not all competition, and so that's why I was
I had that experience because with that with the Irish it's quite easy because generally speaking they are really only songs, but I was just teaching songs that I liked. I was teaching, and then kids were being thrown in the flat and being told by people who are thinking, no, that's too new, you can't sing that here. That happened to me several times, to the point that I took a back seat. I was like, this is not for me.
Yeah, it's just, but it is interesting though that there are individuals in the community that are passing on the songs, are probably, obviously not going to make a huge amount of money out of doing this, but that they're actually, they're consciously deciding to transmit some of these songs is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, oh definitely, and we started off like a wee singing circle as well across the Glen for, more so for the younger ones, Mick Dunn was there as well, and a few that are interested, and we're doing it once a month, and it was a great turnout, you know, of people, and that to me is far more beneficial than.
So if somebody wanted to go across the Glen and end up in a singing session somewhere, how would they get up there? How would they find out what's going on?
That's the question at the minute, because we haven't had anything since COVID, anything live. We did a few Zooms. It was in Kinn's bar once a month when we first started. Maybe that will return again. We were looking at, for the younger ones, a venue that this is ideal. It's nice to have a venue that is for the singer. It's tricky in bars sometimes. So we have a Facebook page, Gullion. So keep an eye there, and who knows, hopefully there'll be something we'll go forward.
Well, it'd be good to say that you sort of spread the news through social media more than anything else.
Big time, yeah. We've had great success with social media. So the other group that I'm involved in is Gael Fubble Ardwa, which is our Irish language community group. And we decided during the first week of lockdown, and we thought it was only going to be a few weeks, that we would start oral and lay, and just among ourselves that we would post up a song a day. And I think we went on for 70 days, and we had like everybody, Liam Wingley, Martin Cowley, like huge response from Gaelic singers. It was amazing, the singers that we got. Just literally contacted us and said, here's a song, and there was no profit to be made of that. There was nothing. It was such a lovely, feel-good thing that I could say ran it for 7 weeks. And it's not that we're not a big community in number-wise. There's plenty of us, but it's not like, say, in West Belfast where they're all in and around the Falls Road and they're very tight-knit and can organise things. We struggle with the fact that we're a rural Irish-speaking community, so South Armagh is pretty big. You know, we're talking about probably, 20 square miles or more. So social media works really well to link everybody up and to not have to have it in one location and leave people out.
If there was one piece of advice that you'd give somebody when they're starting off learning songs, or even somebody who's already singing but they want to develop a little bit more about their repertoire and so on, is there anything that you think of?
I just think listen as much as you can and find what you love, and then out of that you develop your own style and you will find the songs that speak to you.
Very good, lovely. Well, I think we should probably be thinking of finishing up now, or I think we're at the time when we should be finishing. Those people who are at home watching this on Facebook and YouTube, I hope you really enjoyed it. I certainly did. The words are on the website, and if there's any problems with the formatting of the Irish language song, we can some of the words squashed together, so it's quite difficult to read on the pages we have here anyway. It mightn't be the same on the website, I'm not sure, but we can check it out and correct it and fix it up a little bit better for you. Bhailen Buekas of all the Bláithín as of the Kepa Flahul is the Quizoran. I'd like to thank Bláithín for her generosity in giving these songs. As you can probably feel, she just is bursting with love for them and enthusiasm for them and just completely taken up with them. The enthusiasm is just bursting out, and she often says things like, I wasn't sure, should I do that, and I'm not doing it, but I think, in fairness, she did a fantastic job today, and bring me around it.